Hey, Chris. Sorry, I just seem to have lost Chris. Hopefully he'll come back soon. I've been really enjoying talking to him. Uh, I feel like he's equal or definitely more intellectually equal to me or superior. God, I sound like Joe Biden. It's really nice to talk to people who challenge you because it's workout for your brain. When you have conversation with someone who's at your abilities, it's fantastic, or someone who's better than you, because it keeps you on your toes. If you surround yourself with people you feel don't challenge you, then you're wasting your time because you're not going to grow, you're going to stay stagnant. Oh, here he is, he's back. Hey, he's back. The man, the myth, the legend.
You there? Internet dropout. Oh, hang on. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, that's right. We got sorted in the end.
Yeah, there we go. So, where was I up to? Micro-democracy. I was describing micro-democracy. That's what I was
The
doing.
analogy of the films, yeah.
Right, with the analogy of the films. I'm not sure where it cut out, but so what I was just trying to describe is a way in which everyone could have a voice and everyone could veto what they didn't want. Everyone could get choose something that they did want,
Yeah.
and choose what they didn't want.
Yeah.
And there was no single one in that group of 4 people that actually had the final say, if that makes any sense. There wasn't someone that chose a movie for everyone else in that picture. There wasn't
That's too
someone,
much responsibility for one person.
right. And there wasn't someone either that had to put up with something that they really didn't want just to be included in the group.
Oh, that's the worst.
Right, exactly. So now this is great with 4 people, but let's talk about 7.8 billion. Could 7.8 billion people just decide on a goddamn movie? You know, you know what I mean, all right? And honestly, this is the goal, right? If you want to know what we should be thinking about, this is the goal. Is how can we as 7.8 billion humans here on Earth occupying this planet, who we're in the Holocene extinction event right now.
The what? The
Holocene extinction event. Paleontologists have labelled this period of time the 6th extinction event, kicked over in 2015.
Oh, a lot of animals are going extinct, kicking the bucket.
It's not that there's, oh no, we better worry about the environment because there might be an extinction event. No, we're in it, you know, and that hamster wheel and all the politics of, no, I get to decide which movie we watch, you know, and that's what we're talking about here. That's what we're dealing with, you know, and that's not just here in Australia. That's all over the world, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, back to solutions. So how could 7.8 billion people decide on a movie? Well, if we were to do this on pieces of paper, it would be ridiculous. 7.8 billion pieces of paper.
Too many dead trees.
And can you imagine sorting the votes out?
Oh yeah, it would be corrupt.
Right, but we've got this amazing thing called software now.
Yeah.
Right? We've got this amazing thing called the internet.
SPSS.
We've got incredible blockchain encryption technology. We've even got quantum signatures now to make everything unique, and look into quantum signature voting, yeah,
What's that?
which is
Quantum signature?
right. Quantum signature is where you include the space, like, so everything's got an X, Y, Z coordinate in space time, right? So quantum signature includes those details. It can't be repeated. It's like the code that can't be broken. No one can break a quantum signature. It's just it is like I could pull up people that talk about it because the technology is just astounding. But the point is 7.8 billion people with all of these technologies very, very well could decide on a movie or a way to deal with the Pacific.
Pacific?
Yeah, how are we going to clean the Pacific Ocean? Well, we can choose a movie. Well, surely we can put forth budgets, put forth projects, and pick a goddamn plan to fix the Pacific Ocean. And what about all of these other problems that are plaguing us? Crowdfunding and crowdsourcing technology, open source technology can really shows us, and the proof is there. You know, it's not like these are all theories that are mystical. You know,
I think
it's
the most
been done.
important thing would be to actually get more awareness into these issues, make it popular. Because right now we're more concerned instant gratification, like eating a cake or having a shot of tequila or buying a new car or getting that sexy photo on Instagram getting liked. That's to try and like help this problem somewhere else in the distance of this like plastic, rubbish in the ocean. It's hard for people to on their day-to-day basis to comprehend that when we're so fixated on just getting through the workday.
And that's exactly what the workday is designed for.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, got enough energy to get home, have a drink, go to bed.
Like, if you've only got 20 minutes of meaningful attention with your kids per day, how the hell am I going to make you give up that time
Care about
to listen to me talk about why you've only got 20 minutes of meaningful attention with your kids?
But
And that's
saying
really
that, a lot of people have mundane jobs where they can listen to podcasts and videos all day. So I think there's a shift where people, even construction workers, even people you wouldn't expect, the people at 7-Eleven, are extremely educated on some of the world's biggest issues now because you can listen, you can learn French, you can listen to the theory, the entire works of Plato whilst you're working now, shoveling dirt. So that idea of needing $100,000 education to figure out, how life works is gone.
Have you read Plato's Utopia?
No, I mean, I did one unit of philosophy at university, but I found that reading it's wonderful, but it hurts. You have to be ready for a cognitive workout.
Oh yeah, the Plato's Utopia. I've read it. It's hilarious because people call me utopian. They do. And the irony is I've read Utopia and they haven't. And when you read Plato's Utopia, what you realize is the world that he describes, the world Plato describes, is a horrible, case-driven, crap society that would be guaranteed to collapse.
What's a case driven?
Yeah, with lower caste and middle class and upper class, right?
Oh, that class structure. So utopia. So you see right.
So the utopia that Plato describes is, in essence, the very bloody world we already live in.
Well, I mean, this is the closest thing you can get.
And for me, I'm like, well, I've read it, and I know that what you're actually telling me is actually doublethink. It's Orwellian doublethink. You don't even know that Plato's utopia. You know, the people. I'll ask them. You know, what does utopia mean to you then? And they're like, that a perfect world isn't possible. And it's like, well, no, but that's no real excuse for living in this shit world, is it? You know?
Yeah.
And when you actually read Utopia, you realize that Utopia and Plato's Utopia is the very shit world that we live in right now.
Well, I
So,
think there can be perfection in, those dark and good times. Like I think what I was getting at, the point of the utopia, is that we think it's all green pastures rolling around in fits of hysteria, and it's always sunny and always drinking wine and eating cheese platters. But that would get boring. Like I think there's a story of, like, what is it, the dungeon. There's people live underground, and there's people live upstairs, and people underground are always the workers, trolls, and people upstairs are just always in hysteria. And actually, that doesn't work, because without meaning, that's without pain or suffering to balance that, life is actually worthless. Like, to be in a constant state of euphoria is actually pretty bland and vanilla, and we have forgotten the core essence, that struggle and adversity, and battling something and figuring things out and bruising your knee is actually what makes the good times. Like, I mean, imagine if you're a millionaire and you woke up in the morning and had just $10,000 lunches every day, and you had silk sheets. You wake up and like, oh, lobster and silk sheets. I just want to have Vegemite sandwich and go sit in a white chair in the backyard. You need this dark time to appreciate the good.
you know, it's interesting that you say that. I've read some interesting documentation discussing what happens to the psychology of a person that's actually given a lot of money and power at birth, and and there's actually studies on that, and it does reduce your empathy. It does have all of these effects, and of course, because you're putting, you give $2 million to a day-year-old. That's a lot of responsibility on a day-old infant. You know, and
Yeah.
and and coming into the realization that that infant grows to 2 years old, they still don't realize they're a millionaire. And they hit four, and they've got all these servants that are just doing
Yeah.
whatever they
And
want.
they probably think, if only if I was a billionaire, if only I was a billionaire, I'll be happy. I'm stuck here. They probably got, like, I've got this iPhone 10. All my billionaire friends have iPhones 11s.
Yeah, right. It's and money itself. When you know what money is, like, do you know how money is created?
Oh, I know it was
Do you
originally
know where
based on,
money?
like, gold, but
Do you
now
know
it's all
where?
electronic.
Do you know where money comes from?
It's the Federal Reserve in the US, right?
Right. Do you know what fractional reserve banking is?
Fractional reserve bank, is that like shorting the value of the money, so it's actually not even existent? It's just like getting interest off of itself. It
So
doesn't actually
so so
exist.
so. I mean, there's a long story, and there's a thick economic volume if you want the actual the full-on mathematics of it all. Um, and there's short YouTube documentaries to explain it. And I'll give you the short story. So fractional reserve banking is the process by which a dollar is inserted into the economy. So it's where money comes from. And like you said, most currency these days is digital. I think we're down. I know most cash is being wiped out of society right now as we speak. The remainder of it, but we were already at like 94% of all money was digital,
Really?
um,
Wow.
and that was before all of this stuff with COVID. And since then, that's just, we're nearly fully cashless now.
Yeah.
And fractional reserve banking is the process by which a dollar is created. So how does that happen? You've probably got the program in your head that when you go to the bank to get a loan, right,
Mhm.
for your business, $100,000 loan, whatever, right, that the bank's got a whole bunch of people's deposits in its bank, right, in a safe somewhere, yeah, and you're borrowing out of other people's investments, and the
Mhm.
bank just balances everything out, so that they're making money out of other people's investments by lending to you. And that's the program you've got in your head. And that's not the case at all. That isn't what's happening at all. That's not what's happening. Okay, so fractional reserve banking, the short story is when you go to the bank, your local, whichever of your four majors or their sponsors, is the light terrible for you to see me?
It is a bit, but I can still see, outline of your face and stuff. But it's mainly about what you're saying anyway. It's not like we're doing like fashion walk, so it's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so you go to the bank, your local branch, you borrow you $100,000, and the branch will then apply for that $100,000 to your local reserve bank. That reserve bank, someone there presses enter, and poof, $100,000 magically appears, and then they transfer that money from the reserve bank through to your local bank, and
Basically out of thin air, right? So there's a lot.
yeah,
So if everyone wanted to liquidate their
out of
loans,
complete thin air,
yeah.
out of complete thin air. So every loan, every government loan, every private loan, every credit card, all of them has just been, that's how we create money.
But how do you think
So
is that regulated though? Is there a cap? Because obviously these banks, they can't just keep, giving out these
what do you
loans.
think the housing crisis was? What do you think the global financial crisis was all about?
Because there's lack of capping on the amount of loans you
Because
can give
everyone
out.
just kept printing money off all the governments and all the banks, and everyone just kept printing money and just kept pressing enter on the keyboard, right? And the value of everything plummeted and crashed. And it's like everyone's like, oh, the global financial crisis. It's like economists around the world knew it was coming,
Mm. So,
because
so
they saw.
these private banks purposefully pushed onto the public to get them loans they couldn't afford because they knew they would,
Right,
they didn't
right.
care about the
Because then
future
they're
of society.
exchanging, because then they're exchanging nothing, thin fucking air, for real resources, real houses, real bricks and mortar, real land, real gold, for in exchange for what? For nothing.
It must be really
In,
strict now though, since what happened in '08. But then again, it happened in the
no,
1920s.
no. You want to no. You want to know when the next economic crash was due
When?
as a result of all of this? Do you want to know when the next one was
Yeah, tell
due?
me. I think that'd be
Oh,
great. Valuable information.
about 2020.
You reckon? So you think it's a good time to liquidate stocks now? You reckon?
No. I'm telling you that the crash, the next financial crash, that's what we're all in. This isn't This is an economic pandemic.
But
This
technically, the
is
U.S. economy's never been stronger, right? And they're the central.
the US debt. Look up a website, World Debt Clock. Yeah?
Mm.
World Debt Clock. The US debt, yeah, is currently, if you were to have $100 bills, US $100 bills, and put it
Mm.
on pallets, yeah, the US debt clock would stack higher than both of the 9/11 twin towers that no longer exist.
Yeah, but put that into perspective. Like you're just that sounds like a lot of money, but how can you compare that to other countries? Because you're just giving this comparison of a lot of stack of figures, but
Well,
isn't every
well,
country in debt?
yeah, Australia, we're at 160% GDP at the moment. If you jump onto worlddebtclock.org, you can see real time the debt of every nation in the world. You can have a look. You can see where we're all at,
But people don't
and
really
you
pay
can.
it back though, do they? They don't really like chase it
Well,
up.
what ends up happening is everyone borrows from Peter to pay Paul until someone goes to war, and then all of that stuff is liquidated.
Why has
You
that
know,
happened in the
and
past? Has it? Someone started a war because they didn't pay back a loan.
what do you think World War II was about? What
Is
do
that
you
what
do?
started?
Yeah, it was an economic war. It's all economic warfare.
Wait, did
And
World
if
War
you
Two
look
start
up the
because someone didn't pay
terminology,
back a loan?
and if you look up the terminology economic warfare, and techniques of economic warfare, you're going to be staggered because it's a thing. It's a real thing. Because if you can destroy the economy of an enemy nation, well, don't even have to send a single soldier, do you?
Yeah, it's interesting right now. Like a lot of people are
You
out of
know?
work in the Western world. It feels like this is. We feel like we're being attacked, by something we can't see. You know what I mean? Not the idea of the
Yeah.
virus itself, but there's an attack on our culture and our future dreams.
And
And
our economies and our
yeah,
and our and our.
and basically, what
And
we're just the idea of hope. That's what makes us human. Is the idea of future ambitions.
yeah, and I think it's so important, especially now, to hold hope. I mean, to go a bit esoteric on everyone, I think the warrior's path is, not to find the light, but to be the light and to charge, into the heart of darkness as the light. I think that is the warrior's path. And
Wow,
I think,
that was actually really powerful. I think we should go through that again because that's so powerful. So you should be a light, like a form of goodness that has the courage to go headfirst into the darkness while retaining your light and your purity, but not be afraid to get into the middle of something, and just that protectiveness of light will, you know, kind of conceal you from letting the darkness take over.
right. So people meditate and they go and they put on nice scented candles and nice soft music.
Essential
And it's
oils
like,
in the fire.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You want to know where my favorite place to meditate is? Public
Uh,
transport.
that's pretty out there. You're a unique individual by doing that.
And the reason is because surround yourself with distractions. Surround yourself with loud noises and bumps, and then command your soul. Then command into the moment and stay there despite all distractions, despite everything that might push you aside, despite everything that might not let you stay centered.
I
And
guess
that's
because it
why,
makes that's huge. I mean, anyone can meditate in a beautiful mountain range and
right,
surrounded by lilies, but
right.
if you're
But
gonna
but when,
try to train with
when do
people
you
yelling
need
at
that
you,
centered? When do you need that centered? You need to be centered when things are chaotic. You need centered when things are coming at you. You need center and that moment of breath. That moment. You need that calm when chaos reigns.
mm,
That's when you need
wow,
calm.
that's so true. Because I think 90% of people in the Western world will conceptualize meditation as like a 35-year-old tall woman with like perfect skin, like cross-legged, in a yoga mat and like a clean room, and she's like relaxed, and it's like 10 a.m. and she just had brunch. But it makes more sense to have it like you're getting the tram from Flinders Station and it was 15 minutes late, and you're cramped and sweaty, and someone's armpits up next to your face, and you're late for your appointment, and you haven't had any food, and your phone's out of battery, and then that's where you need to go the most.
Right. And if you can start thinking about, yeah, look, I can command my soul in in places where it's chaos, in places where it's not orderly, not comfortable,
Mm.
not fun, not relaxed and easy, but I'm still going to retain my light. I'm going to look into horror and maintain calm and love and compassion and understanding.
What
And
kind of meditation do you do? Do you do like transcendental?
yeah, so there's a various different types of meditation and various different names for those meditations.
What's your
And
favorite?
different transcendental meditation is certainly, one of the pinnacles, isn't it?
But David
You
Lynch
know.
is into that. That's I've seen. He's always popped up on my Facebook a couple of years ago. How big he
Yeah,
is into it.
You know, the CIA recently declassified files saying that yes, astral travel is real. Yes, chakra systems are real. Yes, we actually do kind of go interdimensionally. And yes, psychic assassins are a thing. You
When did this come
know,
out? So this sounds pretty shocking. All this stuff. Is that like in the past? Was that recently?
yeah, it was recently. I think the drop was not that long ago, only within the last 12 months.
That's
And of
astounding.
course, it wasn't exactly announced on Channel 9, was it? You know, like yeah, you really gonna think the CIA declassified files are on Channel 9 News? I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's like wasn't there like the CIA admitted alien planes that they couldn't flying objects that were too fast for like human design?
Well, I mean, digging through declassified files is I think anyone uh
It's
get
fascinating.
ready, get ready. And WikiLeaks is a really soft wet place to start, though it's traumatic. You know, it's traumatic to witness some of what's actually happening in the world, like beyond mainstream.
It's hard
And
to
if you want,
imagine the government
and
even
you
like
asked
release
earlier,
information like that.
where do I get all of my information? You know, where am I sourcing my
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
information? How do I source my information? And I think, and at the time I just said look everywhere, but I will give more specifics because I think, you know, I didn't want to give specifics at the time because of the importance of, 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 of understanding that you shouldn't look at any source. But
Well, I mean, I think that people are make up their mind from looking at it most. I think the best thing to do is look
right,
at
right.
100
Look,
sources and then gather your
exactly,
truth and
exactly,
connecting the
exactly,
dots.
exactly, exactly. So, um, uh, 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 so there's a number of channels. Do you know what Tor browser is?
Yeah, yeah, it's like basically like hides your VPN, right? Or
Yeah, so it makes you anonymous. There's only Tor browsers is deep. That's pretty deep. Now you're completely anonymous and you can search up pretty much anything. There's YouTube clips on how to learn how to do that, how to surf the dark web, so that you can read anything you want uncensored. Use DuckDuckGo. Stop using Google. Stop using Google. Don't do any searches with Google. It is messing with your head. All right? Because it's showing you information very carefully, edited information. Don't use Google for anything.
yeah, and saying that,
Um,
have you had a scene on Google? If you type in uh, any number between like 1 and 1,000 new cases, it always comes up with COVID. Or if you type in Joe Biden or type in Antifa, Joe Biden's political page would come up.
uh,
Or if you
if
type
you
in racist on Twitter, Donald Trump is the first thing that comes up. So there's algorithmic support in
right,
making certain political parties seem unfavorable.
if you type in white Americans, there were hackers that hacked some of these algorithms. They still haven't fixed it. It's pretty funny. If you type, some of it's funny. If you type in white American family into Google at the moment and click on images, yeah,
Don't
it's
do
all
it.
black family.
I
It's
heard
all
this that
black
if you looked
people.
up American historians, only black
Right.
black inventors come up. So I'm looking up
Yeah.
white American family. So they think someone hacked it and ah yeah. So it's only African American families that are coming up.
Right. So that's. There's another hack. Are you ready?
Yeah.
It's a full on one. So I don't know how much you've heard about Pizzagate
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've heard a bit
and all
about
of
that.
that stuff.
It's pretty hard
Ep,
to miss
Ep,
when you go to his Instagram page or Tom Hanks' Instagram page.
Epstein Island and everything that's going on there. So hackers did a reveal, much like the Black Lives Matter stuff. And if you type in TV space television,
TV, space, television,
Space film,
and film.
TV,
Ah,
television, and film.
yeah.
And click on images.
There's like little
Yeah,
dolls in
yeah.
bikinis, like little children. And then
Children.
there's
This is the Hollywood hack. This is all
uh,
to do with the Epstein pedophile rings and all of that. There's nothing illegal to view, but there's enough there that you can see exactly what's going on, right?
yeah, see, all this stuff, it concerns me because I feel like what they're doing is they're preying upon people searching for something, and we're all in lockdown. And having this stuff about Epstein come out, it's been the biggest thing to distract us because we're all trying to, the story of Vishnu in Hindu culture. He spends his life trying to help the meek who have been taken over by tyrants, right? And in doing that, by promoting that thinking, that's controlling the working class, the people, because we're so fixated on this save the children. Obviously, it's no, I can't stand pedophiles. I think that's the worst thing in the world. But everyone's stuck at home and we can't work, we can't see each other, and we're fixated thinking about Hollywood and pedophiles. That seems like a very unhealthy thing to be trying to give our finite attention to, considering it's so dark and malicious.
It's incredibly dark, and I mean, and it's incredibly dark. And when you know the depth of it, and I've been talking a lot about the light so far, and I'm of balance, so I talk of both, light and dark. And it's really good to be solution oriented, but it's also very good to be aware of the problems.
Mhm.
And if you want to see what this means for Australia, well, then if you were to look up Bill Heffernan,
Yeah, Heffernan.
yeah, Bill Heffernan's speech,
Yeah.
2015.
Oh, this man, I don't like the look of him. He looks a bit
Oh, wait. No,
scary
he's a
in his
good guy.
face.
He's a good
Stu
guy.
is he?
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's
Okay.
taken risk. He's risked life and limb to bring you this information.
All right. He looks like someone who's under a lot of stress. I haven't seen
Oh
pictures, but
yeah, he's under a lot of stress.
you can just see
All
he's
right,
been up late at night researching stuff, drinking black coffee, and getting concerned about
all right.
things.
So I want you to watch this clip with me. All right, because it's only 2 minutes long. All right, you watch it right now. The speech. Have you got it up?
The one from 90.
2015, where he names a former prime minister as a pedophile
Ah, yeah, I got the video here.
in the Senate.
It's a minute and 34 seconds long.
There you go. Watch it.
Yeah, I've actually, to be honest, I haven't been paying attention to the Australian stuff, but I have been noticing on Facebook there's been quite a few people talking about issues in Australian politics with the.
Well, in that speech, he names 28 people in Parliament as pedophiles. There's a 90-year suppression order, so no one's allowed to talk about it.
Who's this guy though who's speaking?
A
Who's
Liberal
this
senator.
senator? So I don't know. Is that like someone? Is that is she in charge of a state or?
Well, watch the video. It explains it all itself.
Okay, it's just loading. Give it 3, 2, 1. All right. I think I can put zoom on screen.
Yeah, if you can do that,
Yeah, I can.
everyone, everyone can watch then.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, this is it. I can't hear it. I don't know if the people can. But
Oh.
doesn't matter. I'm sure you can.
And so far, he's just setting it up. You know, just a lot of build up. I don't think he says the names of the people because.
He's not allowed to. That's the point. Is that there's a parliamentary suppression order that no one's allowed to say the names.
Oh, right. Okay.
So no
You
one's
know,
allowed to
actually,
talk about it.
on saying on that, I once met a psychiatrist, and he said he was getting flown to New South Wales to do private testing on over 2,000 claims on against people in the high church against children. That was a few thousand against one individual. So it makes me feel
Yeah,
like
right.
that is it's actually a pretty big problem in this day and
Yeah,
age.
so
Issue.
so I've heard, I mean, no one's got official numbers because official numbers are bogus anyway. But I've heard between 20 and 30,000 children are trafficked for sex trade through Australia every year.
That's a pretty big. I mean, that's a pretty strong. I think something needs some evidence for that. Where'd you get that theory from? Sorry for being skeptical, but
No, that's completely understandable. Your skepticism is well received because you should be skeptical, and you should want to
Mhm.
actually look into this. Uh, um, First of all, I just want to say that video was from the Senate. So if we're going to talk about this being a conspiracy theory, then the senator is a conspiracy theorist, because
Oh,
he
that
named
term
children.
itself, I'd actually
Yeah,
prefer if you
right,
didn't
right, right,
didn't
right,
give it
right.
life because that term,
Yeah,
if you gave it,
I know,
if
I
you
know, I know, I
pushed in
know.
the
It's
media,
it's for me. It's my
yeah,
world. Like for me, it's my
yeah,
world. So the best reading material that there is available, that I've found that's fully referenced. It'll give you, there's several victims accounts, and that would be for Australia in particular would be at pedophilesdownunder.com, and
hmm
that's by Fiona Barnett, is one of the main victim survivors. There's a few other victim survivors who discuss their journey from an inside perspective. Um, you should also, if you want to learn more about the subject of trafficking, and in particular RA and RSA and other stuff that's really quite dark and twisted in this world. Then do also go to there's more information to be found. Obviously, it's Save the Children, where you can see filtered image. There's some scary stuff, and if you're going to research this, for all of you people out there, if you are going to research this, you know, um, it's sweating balls. You sweat balls because you don't know sometimes if that next click is going to be something illegal, right? But you want to know, right? You want to know if this is real, yeah, because this is crazy shit, right? So you want to sort of see for yourself just to prove that it's actually happening, you know. But you can't because as soon as you click on some of those links, right? So it's this when you're researching the subject, it's sweating balls because, of course, you don't want to be a participant and you don't want to click on something you can't.
oh yeah, of
Like
course, that you're in big danger if you're researching something that's controversial. Obviously, you've got
right,
to be
exactly,
careful of having
exactly,
things in your record. Like you don't want to have this. What if you had a taskbar
exactly,
and your search
exactly.
history of dodgy stuff?
So an example of this was on Save the Children, hashtag baguettes, and there was another word, and I won't mention the word. Was going around Facebook, and the reason is because that was full of child porn. Yeah, it was full of child porn, full of it, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of images.
Yeah, that's pretty disturbing. It's almost can't even
available on Facebook through a
get our head around
hashtag.
it. Yeah.
And so that was exposed through Save the Children and Save Our Children. And there are hackers who are working really hard from behind the scenes to expose this stuff, right? But of course, they're anonymous, and they themselves are criminal because they've clicked to reveal this truth, right? To bring it to the people's attention so we can screen to have it shut down and have it investigated on and on and on. But and that's been closed now on Facebook. So if you do, and that's why I'm mentioning it, because that's one that's been shut down, right?
Yeah.
So I know my audience will never be able to find anything, you know. So it's fine. But you don't
That's a
know.
huge issue. That's it, because
You don't
information is
you
taken
don't know
down so
how
quick.
much is actually happening, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
it's
if you're
true.
not looking for this stuff, and
You're never going to see
obviously
it.
all the decent people out there aren't,
Hmm.
right? You
Too
don't
busy.
realize how prevalent it is and how full on it is. You don't know what you don't know,
Well, yeah, also you're in danger as well, getting swallowed up in it.
right?
There's two extremes. You can either be just so happy with ignorance is bliss, or you could just be like consumed by it and let it just eat you up alive.
Well, it's coming back to the warrior's path, isn't it? You know, and that is holding the light and being the light whilst walking straight into the heart of darkness and really bringing light to these very serious, very real issues in compassion, in love, in understanding, with that solution orientation, with that goal of harmony and community and all of that.
But how could you
But you
approach
know,
that? How could you approach the issue like system like issues with important people in pedophilia in Australia? How could you come out of that with light? And such a sensitive topic, it seems difficult to come at it with any kind of light, really.
well, I mean, um, so one of the things that uh, and again, it's difficult because there are layers here. So and the amount I reveal, because I'm being quite careful here,
Of
you
course,
know,
yeah, yeah, but you have to,
because
yeah,
because
sure.
because because there's only so much that the audience can handle, right? And there's only so much that I'd reveal because of that. But anyway, so in terms of what can we get that's loving and light out of it? Well, for starters, I said you don't look for the light, you be the light. So you are the light. You are what's loving in that equation.
Hmm.
You are what's compassionate and understanding in that equation. You're not looking for it. You're supposed to be those things, not look for those things. And when
Okay.
you and when you realize that, you say, well, okay, well, because looking at these subjects without forming a lynch mob, without going crazy, without getting fearful, without avoidance, without denial or spiritual bypassing, you know, that's hard, right? And to maintain that loving, compassionate understanding and to push for investigations, to push for, transparency and just systems of justice that mean that elitists can't do this sort of thing ever again, and that sort of thing can't happen ever again. You
Yeah.
know, that's something that, that's being the light whilst charging into the darkness. It's not go into the darkness looking for the light.
Yeah.
No, there's no loving thing to
Where's
be
the good
had from that.
situation in this? Yeah.
Right. No, we're supposed to be bringing those things to these problems.
So you,
You
you can
know,
you go through hell, but if you've got that goodness inside you, you can bear it. You can bear it anyhow because you
right,
know that those morals that you hold inside you, they're bigger than you. It's like almost like a
right,
halo, not some quasi little like you know yellow thing. It's like it's almost like so, those things of goodness, compassion. That's something that's even more important than your own uh, you know personal safety or recognition of how things work.
right, right. So when that's understood, then it's something to that you can hang on to. There's a part in each of us, you know. Each of us have this part inside of us. It's a core, and it's a part of us that existed before all trauma, before any form of trauma or any form of control or any form of what you should be or shouldn't be, what you should or shouldn't be doing, any labels, any definitions. And that core is pure, you know. It's it's undefinable, and it's bright, and it's a spark of love and life that's within all of us. And that spark of love and life, it's already there. So it's
Mm.
not that you need to generate this thing. It's not that you need to, you know, it's not it's not that you need to create it. You've never been without that spot, even in the darkest,
Yeah,
even in the
because
worst.
you see, but I feel like it can get really, really squashed though. There's so many things out there that's trying to bring you down, and even though everyone has a bright light inside them, there's so many powerful people out there that are doing everything to try and pick at it and smother it and smolder it, you know, and you can forget, and then it's really hard even for the nicest, best person. They can get caught up in city life and just get bogged down in the smog, and they forget that that's even inside them, you know.
Well, and that's why it's so important for us who choose the warrior's path to shine even brighter, and to be even louder about our intentions of understanding and love, to be to stride even further into the heart, you know, so that
Yeah.
others may follow with their own lights. And if you've got the courage to take that journey, you know, um, there are pitfalls of madness. You know,
Yeah, I
there
think it comes down to
are.
routine as well. Like, you know, in Buddhism or in Christianity or you know, devout, they had these routines of prayer and stuff, right? They had ways of doing things that were set up over hundreds of years that made it work. Whereas now we have no religion, we have no like routine of doing things or even just showing gratitude or anything. So the absence of systems and stuff, we're kind of left floundering. Like we're just looking at our phones all the time, or you know, so we're kind of like left searching all the time because we haven't got you know, it's too much freedom, like the fishbowl effect. You know, what I mean, imagine a fish inside a fishbowl. They don't know they're stuck inside a little world. They jump out and think, "Oh, there's a big world out there," because they're stuck in that this little area. You don't know that you're cocooned in your way of thinking and doing things until you actually jump out. That's the scariest thing. And then you do something new in life. You look back at yourself. Why was I thinking in this closed thinking patterns for so long? I just wasted all those years. What was I thinking? You know, it's so scary sometimes when you realize that in a long time you've been in a dark place and not even you know, like you said, not working hard enough to uh, to strengthen and keep those compassion, all those good values alive. But you're doing a good job. But I think that you know, we need some kind of organized way to you know, to continue to better ourselves and to, you know, remind ourselves of those core values that you were mentioning.
Yeah, so I think Jordan Peterson is really good in describing hierarchical um, um, chemistry in the brain.
Mhm.
So you know, when a gorilla, and we're great apes, all of us. That's our classification. When a gorilla turns into a silverback, you know, and becomes that alpha gorilla, there
Mhm.
are, he actually grows in size.
Really?
He's yeah,
Physically?
physically, his whole body chemistry changes. There's
Wow.
actually there's actually a full brainwave change. So the brain wave changes.
So that cognitive shift created physical
Yes.
changes in the body. That's incredible because I see sometimes if someone's in like a really different place, if they're in a Zen place, like they look completely different. If someone's like enjoying activity, like writing a book they love, or they're baking a pie they're really enjoying, they give off like this certain beauty, like it's like there's something else, you know? And I think that you caught onto something there that the human body or any animal body, we forget the power of conscious will manipulating us in the present and actually changing the structure of our bodies, like a gorilla actually getting physically bigger when they're in confrontation mode. That's astounding.
It's no different for us. So there are actually, we actually have beta brain. We've got frequencies of brain waves that say that we're a beta monkey or we're an alpha monkey. And if you want to know whether you are, am I a beta monkey? According to my monkey brain, which is, not the frontal lobe here,
Mm-hmm.
which is this portion of the brain here,
Mm-hmm.
but this stuff back here, are you in alpha or beta mode? You know? And there's an easy way to find out. Do you think you're beta than anyone else? Or are you worried that they're beta than you? Because if you're in that, then you're in beta mode. Because I'm telling you right now, it's only the betas that issue challenges and worry about challenges. The alpha doesn't give a fuck, mate. The alpha is the alpha. Yeah? He's got his women and territory to worry about.
So the
He doesn't
alpha,
give a fuck.
he's
He doesn't
so
give a
confident in his,
fuck about your competition.
so,
He
so
doesn't give
confident
a
need
fuck.
to,
He doesn't need to. It's
assert
only when an
dominance.
upstart beta bothers him from his mission, which is, territory. It's only when an upstart beta bothers him that the smackdown happens. He doesn't issue any challenges. He doesn't have to. He's the alpha. It's only the
Wow,
betas that are worried about that.
that's actually
It's only the
beautiful.
beta.
And a great
Yeah.
analogy of that is that I remember going to this party when I just left high school, and there was this really popular guy in my hometown, and he was going out with this beautiful girl, and at a party, he never seemed to get jealous. Like when she would spend the whole night talking to other people, right? He didn't even glance over ever. I know, like 18, 19, this is a hot day, and it made me realize this person, this man, he's so self-confident in himself. He doesn't even need to check if his girlfriend's getting hit on because he knows he's that good. He doesn't need to check. Whereas, someone who's really low self-esteem would be like holding her hand every 2 seconds, like checking out for other guys because he knows he's actually void of something. So he knows he has to be ready to battle every suitable opponent.
Right. Whereas, another good way to check in with self. Are you interested in the trappings of an alpha, which is the women, the territory, the resources, all of that? Or are you interested in territory? And a beta is interested in trappings, yeah? And an alpha is interested in territory.
So to relate to that, better would be after like Ferraris and loose women and a million followers on YouTube.
That's beta thinking.
Yeah,
All
but
beta
but
thinking.
an alpha wants to be able to have their own business, something they love, and as long as they break even.
Right. They're getting territory, right. And we can get territory beyond just fruit trees and a bit of forest now. We can have territory in the scientific understanding of a butterfly's wing. And that's where we put our mark,
What's that?
We
What's
can
that? What's
have
that about the butterfly's wing?
we can have territory in the understanding of a
Ah,
butterfly's wing.
territory in knowledge. You don't have to have physical landscapes
Right.
or
We can
names
have
of guys to pick.
metaphysical territory, right. And we can put our flags there and we can put all sorts of things in our territory. I've got a pretty cool joke tree.
I love that. I love that. That's so huge. Instead of trying to have a huge mansion to show how big your ego is, get a metaphysical territory. So major in something. Like if you love football or music or dancing or food, study that to all your heart's content, and that can be your coliseum.
Your territory,
Yeah,
right?
your territory.
And
Yeah.
it's not like once you've got territory you give it away. No, you just add to it. So, I've been a circus performer, I've been a DJ, I've done I've got all sorts of territory, right? And
You
that
share it though.
territory,
Isn't that the purpose? That once you get close to mastering something, isn't it your moral obligation to kind of share it with those who are in
well,
need?
that's exactly what happens. You end up providing then, because you've got, like, right now I've got a territory in understanding politics, philosophy, esotericism, and I'm providing the fruits of that territory to you right now, aren't I?
Yeah. So
And the
that's an
fruits
natural
just keep
progression.
giving.
So how do you go back to the story? I like the analogy of the silverback gorilla and getting bigger, and the big alpha. He's so chill because he doesn't need to prove to all the betters that he's the master because he's exuding this energy of confidence.
He is that.
So how would you improve like your level of alpha? How would someone go about to improve that?
How do you go from the change, right? From
Yeah.
beta to alpha brainwave. And
Mm.
it's a brainwave change, all right? So your brain wave will change, yeah? And your physical body will change measurably. This is a thing, you
Yeah, I
know?
felt that myself actually. The past couple of years, I felt more self-confident in myself. Like this, my body language is changing. I don't even look at people like I used to look people in the eye and they walk past to see how they would assess me. Now I'm not even caring because it's like I'm so involved in my thoughts and my task that I don't even care anymore. So that's a shift from
Right.
being better to alpha.
So in the monkey world, yeah, the whole, like, the challenges between males only really happen when there's greater population than territory. And what the alpha males want to do, what all the males want to do, is they want to get the best territory with the best fruit trees and the best foodstuffs and safety possible. Because guess what that's going to do? That's going to attract the girls, right?
It's
Because,
deception because that way they're trying to trick the women to thinking they're an alpha, but they're not because they just say, look at this, I've got all these nuts and fruit and a big tree, and then look at this big fence, so no snakes can come up and kill us in the middle of the night. But that's all a facade. You've stolen that security and those grapes, and you got this steroids to give you a six pack to make it look tough, and that means your genetics. You're gonna pump out little better kids, and you're thinking you give me the impression you're an alpha. So how would a gorilla, once they've acquired territory, how would they share it with the up and coming gorillas?
right, so all the beta males, right, who haven't quite arrived to their alphadom yet, they're all underneath. They all find an alpha to hide under from predation and for safety in numbers. As soon as they're ready, they'll go off and carve out their own territory. And the girls are looking for the best possible territory that they can find. Cortisol in women, so stress, it lowers their ability to breastfeed. It impacts fertility. It's so girls really, like men, we are far more designed for stress, and that's not sexist. That's just we're designed to be expendable. We're designed to
Yeah,
go
that's
out
true.
and,
Men are expendable because, yeah,
right.
if none of us die out of 100 people community, it doesn't matter because that's why in
Right.
history we were more idiots because it doesn't matter if we die because someone can replace us and take our wife. It doesn't matter.
Right, exactly. And in all tribal cultures, that's the way it is. And it's not that and it's for the young. It's got nothing to do with the women. It's not nothing to do with the men. It's for the young. So we did this trade-off. So we, like, strength is good for the species, right? So women became like these gatekeepers of male genetics, where they choose the genetics that goes on.
Hmm.
They go out and find a territory with an alpha in it, right? That and if the alpha's a dickhead, you know, Go up and look up what happens to alphas who are aggressive in the monkey world. It's not the males that pull the alphas down. It's not. It's the women. It's the girls. They tear him to pieces if he's an abusive bastard. Yeah? And they all do it together. The boys are all too scared. The girls do it. Yeah? Anyways, moving right along.
Oh, wow. So if an alpha gorilla gets too big for his boots, gets too arrogant and aggressive,
Aggressive and
then
tyrannical,
the
the
women,
girls
the
pull him down.
female, will find
The
a
girls pull
way
him down.
to get him
Yeah,
out
yeah,
of
yeah.
power. He's a
Yeah,
tyrant.
the girls pull him down. They gang up together, and then they all go together.
Maybe that's
And they
how we can be saved in this lockdown situation. Maybe women can save us against the male tyrants.
so you know, and that's another huge discussion, isn't it? The rise of the feminine and the divine feminine and the divine masculine and what that is. But anyway, back to, because I want to answer your original question, which is how do we go to make that change from beta to alpha?
Yeah.
And so the trick is you want to find territory that, as a man, and I'm going to be talking as a man here, and to men rather than, because it's a different process for women, as I understand. But what we need to do is we need to figure out a goal. So, and that goal can be whatever you want, to improve humanity, community, locally, or whatever you need. And then you're going to need territory to accomplish that goal. And it's going to
Give the
need
resources so you can work on your task. So basically, like, you're a seed and you drop off from the tree, and you need to have enough water and sun so you can actually prosper to do your own thing.
grow your thing, right? Exactly. And so that's what you want to do. You want to stake out some territory. So if that means, and I mean, you know, and I'm not saying, oh, I want to be a mechanic, you know, no, I want a stable career, and I want to work in the automotive area. These are goals, not I want to be a mechanic, right? I want to work with cars as a goal, and that can look like mechanic, that can look like driver, that can look like detailer, that can look like a whole range of things, you know, an engineer, an auto electric person. So, but if you've got the goal of being a mechanic, it's where it ends. Whereas if you've got the goal of working with cars, well, then you can just keep adding territory.
Sky's the limit. Sky's the limit.
Right,
Yeah.
the sky's the limit to that goal, isn't it? So you can just keep adding territory. And if your focus is on territory, it'll produce fruits. And it doesn't matter what the territory is, right? It really doesn't. They all produce fruit. They all produce fruit.
That's huge. That's actually really, I love that, because I always talk about how these days with the internet, you can be like a gamer critic and earn $10 million a year, right? So that old boomer mentality of thinking you have to rise the corporate ladder to enunciate to success, that's old fashioned now, and that's fantastic. Like, okay, so let's imagine I'm a 18 or even 58-year-old male woman who feels insecure. I feel like you know, how to make yourself more attractive, make yourself more alpha. Well, you give yourself a territory and work on something instead of trying to get all the money and all the, you know, the security and the good body. You focus on loving something and being passionate about it, and then, you know, the food and the mates and the security will come with that, because you make such good territory. If you focus on, let's say, imagine the first person said they want to be a game critic and says, Mom, I don't want to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a YouTube gamer critic, and I'm going to be a millionaire. I bet the parents have been like, how dare you, son, you failed me, you're a loser, right? And then this person,
what a territory, right?
yeah, built a territory, and then they ended up doing really well out of it. So I love those inspiration stories, and I love that analogy that you know, to transform into a beta to an alpha, give yourself find a territory, work on it, and then everything will kind of fall into place.
Right, and I'm telling you, you know, if you want it for men, you know, there's nothing more, and I'm probably going to get some critics from the girls here, but, I'm just going to out and say it. There's nothing more sexy for the ladies than a man who really knows what he wants to do in life and really has the territory to go out and get that done and has territory
Conviction,
to
yeah,
match
some conviction in
and
anything.
conviction, right? Right? And not only that, but all of a sudden, if you've got that confidence and you've got that territory, a whole bunch of betas around you, they're all going to want a piece of that because
Yeah,
that's
I guess.
because
That makes
it's
sense. I wondered
because
why
it's
when I was at
going to be
18.
reward. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Exactly. So you want to find an older man to have you back and all the rest of it, right? You want that alpha protection. Who doesn't want that alpha protection? That protective alpha,
well, it
you
sounds
know?
nice to rely on, but obviously, it gets to a point where you need to get your own
Make the
territory, not rely on
transition
that.
yourself. Right, right. And that's how it's supposed to happen. You know? That eventually you realize that you don't want this protection anymore. And then all of a sudden you go out to become a protector.
But you can still be an alpha in one area. Like let's say, everything there is about nutrition. Doesn't mean you can't look to an alpha in like an area of like, love or government or, you can be the king of your area, but still be submissive in other areas, do you need to learn from? I don't think.
Well, alphas don't think like that. Alphas aren't thinking in terms of submissive. I've got some neat fruit trees. Do you want some seed? That's how an alpha thinks. You know, because now I can teach you some stuff. Now you've learned some stuff that you can put into your territory. You know, because with each territory fruit, like if I teach you a little bit about mechanics, well now you've got a mechanic tree in your territory, right? And now I'm just sharing, aren't I? This isn't better than, worse than. This isn't competitive. It's not like we need to fight over this territory. It's
There's
not like
territories. There's nothing to get excited about. There's a
yeah,
billion.
right. Exactly. So it's not like, oh, I need to be submissive because I'm an alpha in nutrition and this person's an alpha in, I don't know, computers, and it's more like, oh, cool. You're an alpha in computers. I want to talk to you. I want some computing tech territory in my kingdom as well. And that other alpha will stand and look at you and say, well, awesome, can I have some mechanic territory? And then there's no competition in that. There's only symbiosis in that, isn't there?
Wow, that's incredible because now I can think about instances of like beta or alpha characters in people. Like when someone is concerned every time they meet someone, if they're going to rip them off, that's like a better thinking. Because I know, like an example, my girlfriend, she's from Ukraine, and over there they have issues of their of corruption, and apparently a lot of people are mistrusting of people, right? They have a look about them, right? Of like, are you going to try to rip me off? That's like the idea of whereas an alpha would be like they wouldn't be so concerned because they know if someone tries to rip me off, I'll be able to handle that situation arrive. So I'll trust this person until they try and show symptoms of being guilty because I can handle that situation if it arrives. I don't need to be too skeptical of people because yeah.
And
So
I've got my goal. I've got my
yeah,
mission. I've got my task. And until some upstart beta interrupts me, you know, I'm just going to keep on that. And there are other alphas that are going to join me and leave me in that. And for brief moments we'll share in our journeys, and for then we'll depart and on again. So, you know, but I've got my territory, and no one can steal my territory, right? Because
yeah.
it's metaphysical.
But that's because
So
you're happy with metaphysical territories. A lot of men want to have actual hectares of land, and obviously there's a finite amount of land. So your business is a lot more, the sky's the
Well,
limit.
well, I've got 60 acres of land as well, and I've got fully sustainable life. But you know what? You know what? I got that because I had other territory. That's not my territory. You know, that's just where I sit down. Do you know what I mean? Like my territory is my ability to entertain, my ability to understand, my philosophy, my scientific understandings, on and on and on. These are my territories, and you can't take that shit from me. You know, you can't take my ability to articulate this from me.
Well, that's very wise that you spent your time doing that because it's not that fashionable. Like we're told to build a collection of jet skis and four-wheel drives and
Oh yeah, but and now, where are your jet skis now, huh? Where are your jet skis now, huh?
stuck in the
Yeah, they're in
garage.
the fucking boat shed while you're in fucking lockdown, wondering what the fuck is going on because you got no territory in cognitive function or in anything because you were too worried about your fucking jet ski and your business and your this and your middle class existence, you know, and
Yeah,
and
better
and
investment
now
in your mind.
and now all of that crap that you invested in, that big hamster wheel, you know, that was all so important to all of you, well, it doesn't mean anything anymore, does
Yeah,
it?
I was actually thinking about that. On Collins Street, all these Gucci Chanel stores, right? Post-COVID, is that stuff even?
Who's talking Gucci now, eh?
Yeah, like
You know?
who's gonna show off the $10,000 handbag? We're all stuck at home getting
Yeah,
Uber
yeah,
Eats and watching
right.
all episodes of Seinfeld. You're not gonna impress anyone with your Chinese slave-made plastic device for holding your lipstick and phone.
Right, but if you can actually make sense out of the insanity of this world for someone, wow, that's something to provide these days, isn't it? If you can actually hold compassion in the madness that's on the streets at the moment, wow, that's something worth something these days, isn't it? And these
Yeah,
have been my territories, you know, these are my territories as an alpha, is these things, and these metaphysical territories have given me the strength to not get caught up in the madness, to not fall prey to all of the psychological warfare that's going on in our streets,
but you have
to
a little bit
not.
though, because I mean, you spend a lot of time researching the problems of like in the government and the pedophilia and stuff. So don't you think it's gotten to you a little bit? Because obviously you spend a lot of time researching this stuff.
I mean, sure, I'm emotionally affected. I mean, there's no doubt about it. No, I
Yeah.
mean, you know, and there's no doubt that I'm bothered by all of that, and
Hmm.
you know, and you know, I've gone pretty deep into some pretty full on stuff that I can't even tell you. You know, I can't. I literally can't because it would literally drive you mad. And I'm
Well,
not. And I'm not.
it's probably better to discuss, face to face after, in the future, and not over
Well,
like a recorded thing that people with sensitive ears can.
Well, and even so, and I'd even so be very, very careful, you know, about that sort of sensitive information.
Well, yeah.
Um,
Also, Chris, like when you're talking about the pedophilia stuff before, like I don't think that I'm even ready to even research this kind of stuff because I'm not. I don't think I'm emotionally stable enough. Because right now I'm pretty upset with what's happening with around the world that I couldn't even process that kind of information properly because my needs aren't being met. Like haven't socialized and haven't seen my family and stuff. Like how are you supposed to be at your peak of mental health?
why do you think that's happening, brother? Eh?
Mm.
Why do you think that's happening, eh? They'll do anything to hide their crimes. Anything. Everything.
Yeah, and because we're all so stressed out, look, the last thing I want to do is
Is look into
research.
the crimes of the elite.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh, I'm already,
That's not convenient for them at all, is it?
yeah, because I mean, look, we've lost the ability to see our
You,
family,
you,
can't
you've
work,
just you've just answered the question. Why is all of this happening? Well, so that you don't do exactly that.
and also the
That's
fact that
why.
it's really handy that bottle shops are still open, so you can, soak away your conscience, but you're not
Yeah,
allowed to,
right.
you go to meditation class.
Yeah, right. So, and this is what waking up is about. Waking up, you know, people say, "What is waking up?" Right? And waking up isn't learning about all the horror in the world, all right?
No.
And I've studied the CIA torture records. I've seen what happened in Guantanamo. I've read the files in, some really dark, twisted places now. And some of that stuff, some of that stuff will stay with you forever. You'll never forget it.
Yeah, I think you have to be a
It's
special kind of person. You have to be ready for it. Like you obviously, you're really pretty self-confident and stuff, and I'm not sure how old you are, but like you're stable enough to look at that stuff, and you're ready, right? With some people, they may try and build Rome in a day. You know what I mean? They may go from nothing and try and research all this hectic stuff about conspiracies, but I think people should start really small and not because your level you can handle. You've been dosed with little bits of dark information over the years, right? You can't just go straight to the 11 out of 10.
that's something which I don't think you quite understand. Like elite pedophilia. That's not 11 out of 10. That's a mere two. On
Right.
in
Well,
the
I don't
scheme of
even think
things.
I don't think I'm ready. I might need to.
Yeah, right. And it's like for me in my world, that's a 2 out of 10. That's not freaky shit yet. That's not weird yet. That's not holy fuck yet. That's
Yeah.
only that's only oh wow, that's dark. That's
See,
not going to spin your world into different. Yeah,
I like that
but
you're aware that that's too much for the average person. Like, just
of course I am. Of
yeah.
course I am. Of course I am, and I'm sensitive to that. And at the same time, people need to understand, because there's an ultimate question that people are going to ask, and that is if these things are happening, who would do such a thing? Who would do
Psychopaths.
something like that, right?
People who didn't know they were doing it, like if like a cog in a machine in a motor, they don't know they're a cog of a big thing. They think that they're the most important thing in the universe doing that
Right,
little
you're
circle.
describing the general population now, but who are the people doing some of this stuff with intent? And
Um,
who are keeping us all in beta brain frequency and not letting us rise up to the alphas we are?
People who can
And
get money off
who is
us.
well, we're talking about high level crimes, the crimes of the elite.
Or white
And
collar
these
crimes.
and these high level criminals, which are in positions of power all throughout the world, will do anything that they can to stop you from looking into it, to stop you from researching it, to stop you from believing it if you do research it, and to send you crazy if you do, so that no one ever finds out
Hmm.
and no one ever
I guess
believes.
because we have the internet now, right? But there's like a
Right.
thousand hurdles to get through that. First of
So
all,
the information's there, but they're just keeping you so fucking stressed out, so
and
traumatized,
distracted
so
with
distracted
sports and
that you
beautiful
never look
models.
at the crimes of the elite,
Mhm.
right? And
I think the biggest thing we have to deal with now, the biggest enemy in the entire world is attention, our limited capacity of attention on things, and being careful not to let that fall astray by things that like junk thoughts. Don't fill your finite cognitive capacity with junk thoughts, because as you get older, you realize you don't really have that many new thoughts, the time to really give them all space.
yeah, I would recommend there's open education. There's a university. It's run out of England. It's free. You can do free courses in critical thinking, and free courses in logic. I recommend this to everybody. Everybody, if you really want to keep your sanity digging through conspiracy and digging through this stuff, get some critical thinking training.
Yeah, and just to add to
And
that, I think as well, just doing mundane jobs like working in as in a restaurant, construction, or those kind of retail, those things actually teach you life lessons as well.
yeah, so in today's world, to be honest, I'm at the point now where I tell people, if you don't understand what a fallacy is, then you don't have any chance of understanding what's actually happening in the world today. If you don't know what bias is, you know, like you're in trouble because people can trick you with that stuff, and they do. There's a trick that con artists use. Do you want me to tell you the trick? It works,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, every time. It's a mentalist trick, yeah. And I was a magician in circus, so for me, this stuff was stock in trade, you know.
David Blaine
So
stuff.
yeah, right. So the trick con artists use is fairly straightforward, and I've never used this one myself, but I know it because you know part of my gig. Anyway, so the trick works like this: no one likes being conned, right? No one likes that feeling. Yeah, it's a horrible feeling, right? So we'll actually go through enormous lengths to avoid that feeling, right? And the con artists, what they do is they keep us in a state of confusion. They throw illogical, fallacious arguments at us, black-white arguments. They throw biases at us until we're scared and we don't really know what's going on and we're confused. And then they're going to use all their tricks that they can, right, to push you into appeasement. And I don't know, you probably know fight, flight, freeze, but appease is also another one,
Like
which is
purgatory,
coming
like
up,
just an abyss.
right? Where you just do whatever you're told to avoid trauma, right? That's what appeasement is,
That goes to what we talked about last night, like the model I used of the abusive partner, where look,
right?
uh, if you keep getting told what to do and abused, you just think, you know what? If I just shut up and go in a little ball,
And
eventually it'll
just
go
go
away.
with it,
I'll
right? That's
take it. I'll take
appeasement,
it. He'll get sick of it and he'll
right?
leave me alone.
Right. So, and the con artist knows that you'll actually do all that you can to avoid the feeling of being conned because it's a psychological injury,
Like
right? It's
ego,
a
yeah.
right. It's a trauma. So, um, so because of that, you know, this is why cons work because people will continue in the con even if they've got information in front of them
Yeah.
suggesting it's different just to avoid that cognitive dissonance, just to avoid that feeling of being conned,
Wow, that's
just
so
to
true.
avoid
That's like if
feeling
I
like they're
bought a
being
vacuum
tricked.
cleaner, if I say I bought it for $700 and I see it somewhere next store for 600, I won't even look at that sign properly because I'll be, you know what? I don't even want to imagine a world where it was actually cheaper next door, but I didn't research it properly. So I don't even want to give that attention because that
So
would mean that I've
instead, I'm just
screwed
gonna
up.
I'm just gonna rewrite the story so I'm the smart guy again, you know, and I'm just gonna ignore all the information to the contrary, ignore all the information that's happening, and I'll just continue participating in this
Yeah.
trick as if it's exactly what I wanted to be doing all along, when in
So,
truth,
Chris, can I ask you something? Do you think
yeah.
maybe someone may know that human beings have this about our nature where we do not want to admit that we're being conned? And do you think maybe there could be someone that puts an agenda to us and we don't ever want to look into its plausibility because it would mean that we had been hoodwinked, like the emperor with no clothes story? Do you think that's a possibility?
Let's talk about those 28 pedophiles in Parliament again and why and who could be conning us and why would they be conning us? Why would they be tricking us?
Yeah,
Why
to be
would
honest,
what?
that I don't.
Why would they be tricking all of Australia so that we're all too traumatized and confused? Why? Why would they be conning us? Could it be because they're high level criminals and they don't want to get fucking busted?
Yeah, that makes sense. But to be honest, that sounds really hectic. I probably need to research that a bit more. Let's do that another day. Let's finish it. I wrote a couple of questions from our phone call last night. Do you reckon we could try and go through these last 10 questions in 10 minutes?
Sure.
So the first question is, you said yesterday that Joe Biden's racial policy had some redeemable qualities. I haven't looked into it, but I don't personally see much in the man that I liked. How can you briefly summarize the good points of his policy that he wanted to introduce?
So Joe Biden really wants to do some more active education towards the history of slavery, particularly for Black African Americans. The obviously, I think education in terms of battling racism is one of those big keys. He's working. He's actually got people. I mean, he's playing. He's playing out both sides of his mouth. No, make no mistake. You know, because he's working. He's there are allegations that he's working with Antifa as well, which is linked into Black Lives Matter. But he's also working with has people working with some of the activists who are really out genuinely trying to make a big difference in racially segregated America. And racial segregation is very real here in Australia too. Utopia is the documentary to watch it's from 2012 on racial segregation here in Australia. It'll blow your mind. We have apartheid here in Australia. It will absolutely blow your mind. Joe Biden's doing great work on education and rewriting history books more accurately to less favour the historians of the day racially.
But can you see how that just sounded pretty shocking to me? He said he's rewriting history books. That means so all the presidents that have been the past 100 years, like they
I've
have
been writing them incorrectly, yeah.
and
Wait until
he's a revolutionary guy to come. He's the Messiah to come in and show Americans how it's done.
I mean, if you knew most of the history you know, most of the history you take for granted is wrong. Absolutely wrong.
Yeah,
Easily proved.
but also, I mean, history is going to be framed in a way that benefits the political party at the time and the cultural values.
I mean, it's crazy how much you don't even know. Hey, was Martin Bryant ever found guilty?
Martin Bryant.
Yeah, the guy who shot up Tasmania.
Oh, the guy that with all the assault rifles, it said there's a whole lot of wasps.
Yeah, he never went to court.
He definitely
No, he
went.
did. No, never went to court.
What do you mean? He killed like 50 people and he
And it never went to court. And it never went to court.
Wow, what happened to him? Is he still on the loose?
And they just throw him in jail without trial.
Oh.
There was never a trial. He was
So
never
they don't
found
even
guilty.
know if he'd been brainwashed.
There was no trial. Everything you know about history is wrong.
Yeah, no, but I don't. So you said that Joe Biden's trying to fix racism.
How many people in World War II? In World War II, how many people were tried for war crimes? After the war, there was the Nuremberg trials. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yeah.
How many people were actually tried?
I'm not sure, but I do know a lot of them went to
14.
Argentina.
14. Only 14. Of all those Nazi scientists.
Yeah, they got poached to America.
Only 14 were tried as war criminals. Everything you know about history is wrong. You know, the American flag has changed a number of times. How many times has the American flag changed in the last 50 years?
Oh, no idea, but it sounds like you.
How many times has the Australian flag changed?
None.
Yes, it has. How many times has the currency changed?
Currency? What do you mean, like in Australia or?
Yeah. 1986 was the last change of Australian currency. Yeah, you probably don't even know
You're
that.
good at recalling facts. You must have done well in in high school then.
No, I did terribly in high school. You know the average IQ for someone who succeeds at university, tertiary education? The average IQ?
100?
120. The average IQ of the human is 110. So if you're 10 points above the average, you're going to do really well at uni. If you're 130 IQ or higher, you're going to do shit at school. Shit.
But that's because a lot of degrees now are for like arts degrees and stuff that's actually pretty easy if you're, naturally talented. Like most
So what's
degrees.
happening to all our geniuses, mate? What's happening to all our
They're too
geniuses?
busy in nightclubs now taking keda and trying to hook up with girls.
And trying to forget about this world we're all living in because they're fucking geniuses and they've actually figured out what's going on and they don't want a fucking bar of it.
They're probably
That's
hiding
what
away in isolation
all our
playing Call of
geniuses are.
Duty.
Most of our geniuses are in fucking mental wards right now. To be honest, honestly,
Well, of
honestly.
course, because I think about it, a little bit of brain damage is pretty good, you know, because if you're too aware, then you're seeing all the problems, and it's going to eat you alive, right? If you're half numb, that makes you the perfect candidate for our culture.
For perpetuating it.
Yeah, but I don't know. I still feel like we're in the best time in history. Yes, we may have flaws in capitalism and stuff like that, but I still think like you and I have a pretty decent life. If we were living as peasants in England 400 years ago, I think we'd have a lot worse lives.
Um, you know it's pretty funny, really. You know, 'cause did you know that the average slave on a plantation had in America had a better quality of life than the poorest in America in those trailer parks do now?
Yeah, so what you're saying is that the slaves didn't even have it that bad compared to what it's like being really poor now?
Right, and did you know that in Guantanamo, you know, when the really bad terrorists came in, right, and they wanted to torture to get information from them, it wasn't physical torture. No, 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 no. Those really hardcore guys, doesn't matter how many electrodes you attach to them or how many times you whip them, they don't break. You know? Now, you want to break them? You send for the psychologists and the psychiatrists.
Mm.
Psychological
Yeah.
torture is
I guess it's like what's
worse.
happening now, like because now
Yeah,
all the money is
right.
in all the money in each country is not bars of gold. It's in the minds of the engineers and in
Yeah,
performers and
right.
stuff, right? So you can't come in
Right.
with guns.
Hang on
You
a
can't
second.
come
I'm
in
just
like,
getting a
give me
drink.
your
I'm just
money.
getting a drink.
Oh yeah,
I'm just
sure.
getting a drink. I'll
Actually,
two
sorry, Chris.
seconds.
I'll leave it with I'll probably say goodbye now, Chris.
Okay, hang on. All right, sorry. I've been hanging on for a little bit. No, I figure we're gonna continue chatting anyway. So.
Oh, that's all right. Now I think we should probably call it a day. We'll leave it while we're on top. I didn't get to go through those questions, but I think like we could probably talk for another 6 hours. So
Yeah,
let's
well,
call
yeah.
let's call it a day.
Um, that's all right. So where will this be going up, mate? Is this part of a recording or anything like that? You're gonna